beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved.
Good morning from Fort McHenry. My name is Owen Crabb, a volunteer with the National Flag Day Foundation, and with me is Mike Kraft. Mike is also a volunteer, but he's not just any volunteer. He is really a spark plug, a main spark plug that has worked for weeks, months before this to pull the facility together here, the layout together here. All of the prior planning, tends to fall in his corner. And I just want to talk with him so that you can get a feel and appreciation for the planning that goes in ahead of time to a living flag. And this is no minor living flag. This is our 20th annual living flag here at Fort McHenry. And a few hours from now, where we're standing, there will be approaching 3,000 young people pulling together this living flag that we'll depict for you later. So without further ado, Mike, tell us how the grid actually starts to fall together.
Okay, Owen. Over a period of about 14 years, we've figured out a formula to make this happen. As long as we're going to have more than 1,000 participants, we can go with a format that takes one color of cardboard for one child, and we can put together a mosaic that forms a flag. We start to have fewer than 1,000, and we really have to take a big painting of a flag, cut it up into the right number of pieces to be able to make a living flag. But for a big one like this, we can go one color cardboard for one child.
All right. Much
easier to imagine. Now, when we lay out the geometry, I need to know, first of all, how many children we're planning for. We're planning for about 3,000 today, so I was able to, we're making a 15 stripe flag, so we're laying out 15 equal stripes, and we have 3 children making the width of a stripe. So I've got a total of 15 stripes. I've got 45 children, or 45 squares, laid out in a vertical direction. And we've got in this flag 60 plus squares in the horizontal dimension.
All right.
That gives us the right kind of proportions for our flag.
Which is important too here. The reason for 15 stripes is to match the fort's flag here.
We have a special situation here where we're trying to be appropriate to Fort McHenry, so we make a Star-Spangled Banner, 15 stars, 15 stripes.
But in another setting, like one was done in Virginia not so long ago, it can be done in a different configuration, different numbers of young people.
Absolutely, Owen. Absolutely. We've set them up. But really, typically, if you know the number of children that you've got, you know the number of stripes you're going to try to be forming, that sets up the overall geometry for the flag.
All right.
Once we know the geometry and we can make a diagram, then about 4 days before the event, we try to line the field with field marking paint. And
that happened Saturday.
That happened on Saturday this year for our Tuesday event. We have an extra day, Sunday, which allows for machine breakage and for bad weather and all those sorts of things. The field marking operation this year took us about 5 hours. Under ordinary circumstances, it takes us more like 6 or 7 to be able to get it striped. We have a power spray paint machine.
Like an athletic field?
Athletic field. And we have some Boy Scouts that come out and help us, who fortunately this year we're trying to get ready for football season. So they used the machine like a tackling sled, and we're pushing it up and down the flag to create this on Saturday morning and afternoon. Once we do that, we have this big grid of 3,000 squares. Then we run ribbons down the, you see some in here and here and in back of us, to actually mark the different colors. separating one stripe for another. When you're trying to control this many children, you need to make it as simple and as obvious as you possibly can how you're going to keep them organized. From there, we have individual stars cut out. You see some of them in the background there for individuals to hold. Once all that's in place, then the day before the event, things really start to happen. We start to get chairs in. We've got rented chairs. We have a few tents to shelter a first aid station. We've got the National Guard coming in to provide drinking water for the event.
Fort staff.
Fort staff that helps by making sure that the grounds are mowed in advance. One interesting issue is you want to mow the grass far enough in advance that those children that have allergies aren't affected by all the dust that you've stirred up. So you really want the grass mowed 5 days before the event.
Right. Now let's talk about young people. I see our first coaches arriving. 3,000 people coming together for a couple hours is not a minor matter.
No, we're going to have about 80 buses this morning. We've had to host as many as 100 buses. And the logistics of getting them all in here quickly, getting them safely parked in such a way that the bus traffic never crosses the pedestrian traffic, so that the children are never at risk, is always an interesting puzzlement. But that has to be worked out in advance. We have a little interesting problem this morning. We've had a lot of rain this spring, and we normally park the buses on the grass. This time we're having to modify that plan slightly. It will slow us down a little bit in receiving and releasing the buses at the end of the event. But we've got a contingency plan in place, and it seems to be moving ahead smoothly.
And in terms of contacting young people ahead of time, it's basically the foundation volunteers going to individual schools across the state.
That's right.
As early as February, right?
Well, we actually start in September, much before that, where we will put out a first, not really invitation, but notice of the event, so that all the public schools in our state can get it on their calendars. And then in January, as soon after the holidays as we can possibly do it, we get the invitations out. Here, because we're trying to make such a big flag, we contact every public elementary school in the state of Maryland, as well as all of the parochial schools and the organizations of private schools that are available.
And some homeschooling.
We get some homeschoolers too.
All right. Well, I see the sound system's being tuned up.
Yes, this may cut us short.
That's all right. That's all right. Listen, thank you so much. We're looking forward to the next 2 hours, and we thank you for everything that you've plugged into this.
Okay. Well, it's been my pleasure.